Hello and welcome to this section. And in this section, we are going to focus on another fundamental concept that I pushed back on teaching until now because I needed you to know what you know now before I could teach you what we are going to learn in this section. And the topic is on commenting. And what comments allows us to do as programmers is to document the source code that we write. This is not peculiar to the Python programming language only, because almost all other programming languages out there have the concept of commenting. And like I said, it helps us to document the code that we are writing. And the reason why we need to sometimes leave comments in our source code is to first of all explain the code better. So basically to improve the readability of our code and also help people who are reading our code to understand it. And it is very important because you might write code and somebody else will have to come and maintain it. Remember that for whichever company engages your services as a programmer, you are not going to work there forever. You're going to move on and other people will have to come and take over. You will also join some companies where you will be working on code bases that have been written by other people. So when we leave comments in our source codes, it is basically to help others to understand our code. And surprisingly, sometimes comments are for you yourself, the person who is writing the code, because it will surprise you to know that some months down the line, you look at code that you wrote earlier and you will not understand why you used certain tricks or you made certain trade-off in the code base. So you leave those comments in there to help you yourself to understand what you did some months ago. So I want you to think of programming as a means of communication. Whenever you sit and you are writing a program, first of all, you need to have the mindset that you are communicating with a computer. So you want to give explicit and very specific instructions that a computer has to execute to, achieve a particular goal. That is the purpose of the program that you are writing. And for that to be possible, you need to follow the syntax rules of the programming language. The next thing or the next mindset you need to have is that the code you are writing is also a means by which you will be communicating with fellow programmers or developers who will be looking at your source code. And so you always strive to make sure that your code is understandable. You can do so by choosing very good variable names, but that doesn't do away with the fact that sometimes there is the need to add comment into your source code. And I also want you to remember that when we say some program is a good program, it is not necessarily just a program that does what it is expected to do. Okay, of course, that is the highest benchmark that we use to measure the success of any program. But another very good benchmark, which we cannot do away with, is how understandable is the source code, because source code is always something in motion, it needs update, and there is going to be a block if there's going to be a block to the ability to perform updates if the code base is difficult to understand. And that is why most programming languages provide the commenting feature to mitigate that situation a bit. And that is what we are going to learn about. So let's take a quick pause and I'll see you in the next video where we start talking about how we can comment out our Python source code.